Meltt, thanks for coming in. Thanks for playing on Portside Live. So, kind of curious, how did the band come together? How'd you form? Have you guys known each other for a long time?
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. Like, technically, Jamie and I know each other from we were like really young kids, like in kindergarten and stuff. And then, yeah, kind of started playing in a band, kind of setting. We were starting around grade 7 or something. Kind of played through high schools, like doing covers of classic rock music. Just kind of getting chops as like playing as a group.
We had a band called Party Armor in high
Party
school.
Onward?
Party Armor.
Party Armor.
That's when
Cringeworthy.
James joined. Horrible name. And that's when James
They were young.
came in, and Ian went to our elementary school as well. So we go way back with him. And then
James
joined for grade 8, and we played that throughout high school. And then after high school is when we were kind of like, everyone kind of went off and did their own thing.
Yeah.
But wanted to keep playing some capacity. James went to Montreal, and me and Chris stayed. We both went to CAP, actually, Chris in film, and I was doing poli-sci at the time, just arts. I just went to Chris. He lived probably like 3-minute drive away from me as we were growing up. So, and he had the rehearsal space, so I just went over there and was jamming with him. James was kind of doing his demos out east, and we were kind of sending each other stuff that we were first starting like to create our own stuff. That was the first time we were just doing our own thing really seriously, I guess, and we liked it enough that when James came back for summer, we started playing all the kind of bits and pieces we had put together separately, and kind of recorded our own EP by ourselves in the basement with rudimentary mics, and I think we used Adobe Audition.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. Learned a lot, and that was like the first kind of releases Meltt. And then James decided to transfer to UBC just to make the band kind of work, and that was the beginnings of Meltt. And then Ian joined when Ian was going out east to school. We had like kind of 3 or 4 session bassists that came in, like I think 3 different ones, and then we played with Ian one summer, and it worked really well. But then he had to go back to school, and so when he finally permanently came back, that's when Ian joined aboard, I think.
Yeah, when I was graduating and moving back, I just like knew I needed a band.
Yeah, totally.
So I hit them up, and it was like perfect timing. They need a bassist, and I was in.
That's awesome. So when did you guys actually make the decision as a band, as a group, to pursue this professionally and kind of chase the dream, really?
I mean, it's hard to really say.
I wouldn't say there was like one defining moment where we're all like, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But I don't know, we always taken the music really seriously, and when we started releasing it, and I'd say maybe you guys can speak a little more to it since you've been doing it longer than me, but I'd say Swim Slowly was kind of like the first real concerted effort to make it happen.
Where you kind of felt you had something there, something worth carrying out.
Yeah, it wasn't, because for me it kind of was like there was more of a moment because I had to actually like decide to transfer schools. So it was like,
because where were you at the time?
I was in McGill in Montreal, and then I was like, I'll transfer to UBC to do the band stuff. But it wasn't like I wasn't like, I'm gonna like embark on a career. I was just like, I want to pursue this and see what happens. But it wasn't like just like full on diving into a career. I was just like, I want to make music and then leave it as a possibility that it maybe could become a career. So. Yeah.
So you're kind of just chasing happiness, and what was
pretty much
making you happy at the time, right?
Yeah, I'll add on to that too. Actually, thinking about James's context. Rookie mistake. I actually had kind of a similar thing after I was with the band for about a year. I was at the same time working this full-time engineering job that I was just hating, and for me I also had a kind of moment where I was like, I gotta stop doing this and like really fully put myself in the band. So
I have like a distinct memory with James and Jamie and I. We were at like this music festival down in Washington called Sasquatch Music Festival,
totally.
which is sadly not.
That was in
anymore.
2014 too, like the first summer of Meltt playing together as well.
Yeah, so that was like
context-wise,
I remember we were like in a tent, and we were spunking in the same tent or whatever, and we had this fun night, and we had the thought like our goal now is our dream would be to be able to play like even just like a 1 p.m. slot at like Sasquatch. Like we want to just obviously that entails a big like
some
path,
kind of career.
Obviously some kind of success to even reach that level.
Yeah, totally.
So that was kind of our mission like in 2014 is just like let's do this. Let's like get as good as we can and like reach this level. That would just be
to play
fulfilling.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, that was basically that was.
And then once you do that, you're gonna hang up the Spurs, or what?
That was like the initial goal.
Well, Sasquatch doesn't exist anymore, so we can never get
we
that.
can never have that goal.
We get an equivalent
fulfilled.
thing even. But that was basically
at the time that was like the tangible goal of like what we wanted to do, and like obviously if we made it to there, we'd assumed we'd have some kind of career from there.
Reason to be
But yeah, I think when we started, we all were like, oh, this would be really cool to do. And when we liked the music we were playing, that was the main thing for us.
Yeah.
And then when we kept playing, we were all doing our degrees at the same time until like 2018,
Yeah.
2017, 2018. That's when we all kind of graduated. And throughout university, we would like doing as many gigs as we could, writing when we could, recording when we could, and learning all that process. And then I think, throughout that time, we're just trying to build and build and build. And we always had that goal in mind, but I think Swim Slowly was the first thing. We were like, I remember like with Swim Slowly, we waited a long time to release it because we put so much like time and effort and money into it. They were like, we don't want to we had an okay Vancouver fan base, but we didn't want to just release it to like friends and family and like the people that followed us from around Vancouver. We wanted to have some kind of promotional capability behind it, so we kind of kept it and shopped it around, and
That's cool. So, I mean, since you guys have formed and really solidified what you're doing here, what have been some of the highlights of the journey so far?
I think for me, so far, highlights would be touring and like meeting all the people in real life that are fans of the music that come and say hi and want to ask questions, and like kind of it's a role reversal because I'm always that kind of person going to the show, staying after, like hanging at the merch table and buying something and thanking the artist for like what they do and for everything like that. So that's probably the best thing so far is that kind of reverse interaction when people come to our show and kind of seeing them all around the States when you wouldn't expect it. It's kind of cool. Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing experience, like going to some town you've never been to before and have someone from there come to your show and like come to you after and say like, you're my favorite band. That's like, oh, I have favorite bands. Like that feels so weird to totally be on the other side of that,
Yeah. The cool one is people come to the show. It's usually like the shows because then it's a lot more tangible. Like streaming is kind of just like numbers, but then when you actually like see people's faces, it's really cool. And we've had a few where it's like young people coming to our show. It's like their first show they've ever been to. Like they've never been to a show. Yeah. That's like pretty mind blowing. That's really cool.
Yeah. I'll give another story too. Back in 2019, when I think we hadn't released the album yet, but we had released a few singles, and like nothing crazy was happening for us. And there's this one, I guess I call it like a YouTube taste maker. Her name's Alona Shemries. She puts a lot of awesome music on her channel and matches it with art she kind of thinks goes with it. And she has a big following. And somebody we know named Young Heezy, he had had a lot of success with one of his songs getting posted on that before. And I remember we were all at band practice and we're like, Love Again's like it's not doing that great. I don't know. We're all kind of bummed out on it. And then all of a sudden Chris was like, oh my God, she posted it. We're like, holy shit. So that we definitely noticed a big bump after that. So that was a cool moment for us.
Those early moments of getting featured or getting a huge algorithm spike were all pretty cool. Like moments where you first think, oh wow, like we're getting like 10,000 streams now a day. Like it's just like, whoa, kind of surreal when you have like goals like that and like just happens, Another one just to be a bit different than the guys, the show interactions I would agree are probably the highlight, and playing shows to big crowds of people in cities you've never been is super, super cool. But we had a cool, before we started doing that, like COVID hit and we kind of didn't tour for a long time. And we're building, we got into some cool algorithms on YouTube that brought us like a global fan base. And just seeing like how many fans comment on videos from Latin America, you get Spanish comments, like Portuguese comments from Brazil, and then you get these voice memos from Instagram fans, just really funny stuff from these people like all over the world, and stuff like people like connecting with your music. And before we started playing shows, that was a big highlight for me because like, oh my God, like we hadn't played anywhere outside of BC at that point. I think Victoria was the furthest we had gone, and then you're getting fans from Brazil like sending you voice memos, spinning your album during COVID, and you're like, what the heck's happening? Screaming
with joy.
That's such an interesting point, dude. It's something that we've heard from a few other artists who've come through the studio as well, is just how almost bizarre and strange it is to have music that you wrote in your bedroom or you kind of put together on a night where you were a few beers deep or something, and then you hear that like people are enjoying that music and people are actually listening to that, and it's reaching places like Iceland or Brazil or wherever. So what's the group's songwriting process?
It varies. I'd say in general, one of us will kind of be working on our own, just like some spark coming from messing around with a synth or just messing around with a guitar, and some spark will happen and we'll just get an idea down like at home, record some demos onto Ableton. And then we usually build up a stockpile of that, bring them all to the group and kind of pick out the ones that we like the most as a group, and start really working on them, refining them, spending a lot of time over each layer, over the lyrics, over everything.
And sometimes it's just like a very basic beginning idea. Sometimes it's more fledged. Depends. So if it's just like a starting idea, then we write the rest together and arrange it together, and it's pretty collaborative in the end.
Right.
That was heavily how we did the latest music, because we're isolating for so long. Everyone was kind of creatively doing their own thing, and we had a lot of these demos that we had to pick through. Like I said, some more complete than others. The first album was that way as well. But we were playing a lot more in the room for Swim Slowly, so there's a few songs on there that we just were jamming, and we got pieces of something in like a 40-minute jam. There was like, I think we had this little riff that James was playing in a totally out of context drum thing, and it became Deeper Water in the end. And I know, James, you did On Your Own in a tent up at the top of Cypress or something, just the little guitar thing, and he brought it in on a voice memo.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and he brought it in on like a voice memo, and we just played it out. Like, it's cool.
I don't want to give away my spot here.
Next time you go back, a bunch of people will be there seeking inspiration.
Yeah, Cypress is
I don't think you can do it anymore. It's too busy now. But I used to. I only did it one time. I just filled like a backpack with like musical gear. Like I bought like an amp, a guitar, and like a keyboard and a bunch of pedals. And then I like hiked to the Sky Chair on Cypress, like the top chairlift. Yeah. And then I knew that they like left the door open for that just in the summer. So
like in the little like the little
right where the guy lets you off the lift. Yeah. So like I knew that they left that thing open, and I like checked the light switch one day when I was just hiking without all my shit. Then I went up there and I just like set up all my gear on the platform and like plugged the power into the chairlift.
Meltt does not condone breaking, entering.
And then just camp. And then
just breaking. Just entering.
Nothing was broken into.
Just purely entering.
And then I just camped there for like 2 days, and then
you've lived in the hut.
I just had like a tent like on top of the thing. I was just like jamming.
Cool stuff.
I actually didn't know that's where On Your Own came from.
On Your Own, I think came
from. That's the like
that could be a new revenue stream for
there.
Cypress, recording bands up there.
Yeah, it'd be a good live session. Portside live on Cypress.
Portside live on Cypress.
Yeah, the misty morning thing and On Your Own is because it was misty on Cypress. And,
cool.
Yeah.
Going back to the songwriting stuff, though, I'd say maybe a more. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of bands that do this, but maybe a more unique part of our process is lyrics are kind of the very last thing that we look at. Not to say that lyrics mean any less to us, like they're still a really important part of our songwriting, but the way we do is we get all the demos down and we kind of figure out what the melody is, like almost down to the syllable. Sometimes just like with nonsense words, like most of our demos will just be like absolute nonsense, and maybe a few phrases here or there will kind of stick, but then we all kind of look at the songs together and like we'll all kind of pitch ideas for lyrics and like work on them together. So
that's interesting. That's I think fairly unique actually for a band too. One of the things I love about the way that you arrange your music as well is kind of build it up into like a crescendo of a wall of sound. And curious about who have been some of your musical influences as well that have inspired how you actually do arrange songs and songwrite.
It's a hard question to know how, in terms of the specificness of like how we arrange songs, but I guess
just influences over the
influences.
years.
There's a few that are, I guess, across the board we all agree is like Foles is a big one, especially for guitar style stuff. And
drums.
Lots of things, drums. Tame Impala is a big one.
Yeah, you can definitely hear with elements of Tame Impala.
Yeah, with effects for sure and things like that.
Glass Animals too.
Oh yeah,
early Glass Animals especially, I guess a bit.
Early, yeah.
Kasabian a bit. Tycho.
Yeah,
Radiohead.
For guitar a bit actually. Radiohead.
Yeah.
Beatles and stuff to throw it
Obviously
back to like
going way back. Yeah.
Like a lot of the classic rock bands were kind of like the very first things we ever were like, that got us going on music back in the day.
And then for instruments, like drums would be like heavily like Bonham would be a big one, and then John Bonham would be a big for individual drummers, and like Jack Bevan Foles, and even Mick Fleetwood. There's a lot of like Mick Fleetwood stuff, and
That's cool. And then, so what's in the cards for you guys? Are you getting onto the festival scene? Are you on the? I know you have some tours coming up.
We're hoping to get into.
You can go play Sasquatch. I don't know if anybody will be there anymore.
We'll
make one.
We'll enter the gorge.
That's right.
Yeah, not break.
There's this festival, Desert Days, I went to last year, which was like an incredible festival. I'd say it's like this new Sasquatch for me.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get into that one day.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Otherwise, I think we're going to be touring the new album and
We have a new album coming out.
coming out in
Coming out
September.
or may have come out by the time this is
May have come
released.
out. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Also locally hoping to play Cats. We played last year at the
Okay.
Music BC stage. It was
That'll
awesome.
probably have happened
So,
by the time.
yeah. So yeah.
So
That'd be
do you have
fun.
a sense of where the tour is going to take you yet?
Basically all around the US with less prevalence in the West Coast because we just did that. But
Yep.
yeah, most other places that are worth generally the routing for us.
East Coast, Texas.
Oh, and actually,
probably
we're
Arizona.
gonna go to Mexico City for the first
yeah.
time.
Oh,
ever,
very
which is
cool.
Like, gonna be
Yeah.
a really exciting one for us because Mexico City is like our #1 streaming city. Like,
Is it
so
really?
Many, so
Yeah.
many
That
fans
is
are from
very
there. It's really
interesting.
cool.
Yeah, it
we
is
done a lot of
funny.
like press stuff, like interviews and stuff
Yeah,
from
like
like
60% of
outlets
our
in
press is
Mexico
in like
City and
Latin.
stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Do
Latin
any of you speak
America.
Spanish?
I used to be
Chris
okay at
does a
it,
little
but not really.
I
Yeah.
studied in school. I can get by a bit, but yeah, not fluently.
Yeah.
They have to translate.
I mean, last August we were in San Antonio and we were at this diner where like our waiter was like only spoke Spanish and these guys were fine. She was like saying stuff to me. I was like, yeah. And she, I
knew enough to
forgot what she was
order the
asking
right
me.
stuff.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, that was fine. I remember
Just
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you're saying
She was
yes.
asking me to like pass or something. I was like, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. You might have to write some love songs in Spanish then for the Latin American
Like
Beatles
audience.
Some-
did the German versions. We got to do Spanish versions.
Oh, did you do German versions?
No, the Beatles did
Oh,
though.
the Beatles
early
did. Yeah,
Beatles
that's right,
stuff.
'cause
Really?
they spent a
I
lot of
didn't
time
know they did.
in Hamburg.
So if
right?
she loves you.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
there's
They
two
recorded it.
full-on German copies. Like they sound identical almost, but they're different takes.
That's hilarious.
So the last question here, and you've kind of touched on it a little, but what would be your dream venue as a band to play if you could play anywhere in the world?
Red Rocks Amphitheater,
Yeah.
I
I was
think.
gonna say Red Rocks.
Yeah, I'd say that. I guess that's it. Yeah.
And the Gorge Amphitheater.
Yeah.
The Gorge
yeah.
Amphitheater?
Yeah.
Outdoor
I would
venues,
add that.
okay.
Sasquatch.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool.
Either of those two.
I mean, like obviously this would be way in the future, but it'd be sick to be playing like theaters. I feel like when like from a concert goer perspective, I enjoy like those like theaters or clubs are like my favorite size shows for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, locally, like Commodore would be sweet.
Yeah.
Orpheum would be cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Queenie.
One day. We're manifesting
Rogers
it right
Arena.
now. BC Blades.
So, yeah, those three, like for Vancouver, would be cool.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for coming in, guys. We'll wrap it up there.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
thank you for having us.
Thank you.